so that you guys have time for your presentation. So on behalf of Lassie, well, first of all, I should introduce myself too. I'm Sarah Ripp. I'm the Assistant Director for the Latin American, Caribbean, and Iberian Studies Program. And I'm delighted to be here to introduce our two musicians and presenters today for our lecture series. I will start with Natalia. Natalia Hildner Armacanqui is guided by her Indigenous Andean roots and life experience. Having traveled and lived within multiple communities throughout her life, she creates her own original aesthetics by weaving the multiple global singing and dance styles, which she has learned and loved in depth, including Indian, Peruvian, Middle Eastern, and others, into one tapestry, which connects her and others to spirit, culture, and ancestral wisdom. She has an MA from Roehampton University in dance, and also is a recipient of the Senior Performing Artist Award from the University of Chicago. She is, I believe, based here in Wisconsin and also abroad a little bit, or just Wisconsin?
Madison
Just
is my
Madison.
home, and if I have the opportunity to share my art abroad, then
Awesome. Thank you. And then Richard Hildner Armacanqui, he grew up playing the Peruvian Andean guitar with his grandfather and uncles. He then studied jazz under the mentorship of Thelonious Monk, saxophonist, the late Paul Jeffrey, and has also studied and played extensively with one of the leading world exponents of the Afro-Peruvian cajon, Juan Medrano Copito, and studied in Peru with the legendary Afro-Peruvian guitarist, bassist, composer, the late Maestro Carlos Hare. Hare, sorry, I forget I was going to ruin that name. So you can also catch him here with Golpe Tierra, which probably some of you or many of you here in town have seen them perform together. And so let's give them a warm welcome. Thank you.
wow, yeah. Wow, yeah. Wow, yeah. We would like to acknowledge with this Herranza song the land that we are all standing on, as the sovereign land of Ho-Chunk Nation, otherwise known as Título medicine. And this is a gift, this is a song to all of the flora and fauna here, asking permission to share today with all of you with their blessings. And we hope to continue building brotherhood with our Ho-Chunk brothers and sisters and Menominee and Potawatomi families that we've had the honor and privilege to meet during our time here. We were born here, immigrated from Peru, but connecting across continents and indigenous nations has inspired us to be here today and share with all of you. So that's why we always start with land acknowledgements and gift this song. This particular song is called an erranza, and it's done, they're songs that are only meant for the animals and the plants. So when we think of songs, we think of maybe something playing on your phone and it's for you, or maybe for a lover, or maybe for a friend that you want to dedicate. Very rarely do you think of songs for a daffodil, a song for, in this case, it's for a cow. It's for the mother cow, and she is saying that there's 5 eyes of the puquiales, of the springs. I will only drink 3 or 1 or 2, and I will leave 3 for my children. And as I roam these highlands, I will drink from the eyes of the spring in abundance with my children. So this is very directly connected to today's subject, which is Wayñus, which is another genre, but also in conversation with Mother Nature's secret conversations, the Wayñus of Peru. I wanted to pass the microphone to my elder brother, who is also my teacher, talk more about Duo Pukra, our group, and how it started.
Good morning, everybody. So the Duo Pukra is a group that my Uncle Numa started with me, and we did we were a duet that was we wanted to share the music from primarily South Central Andes. We also would include other Andean regions. We played music from Ecuador, music from Bolivia, and the name Pukra comes from well, before the Incas were there. It's a group of people that had to have lived in that region of Ayacucho, Puerto Rica, even Apurímac, and it's this region of the Andes has a bit of a shared culture with the dialects of Quechua. There's a lot of similarities among them, and also the music of Wayñu. Like each region has its own flavor and styles of Wayñu that is known all over Peru, especially when we talk about the state of the region of Ayacucho, which is known to be a cultural hub of the entire Andes.
The genre that we're focusing on today, Wayñu, is a family of songs that are passed on from family to family. And we're one of those families that you can say cultivates this song. So I like to say that we keep these songs alive, but they also keep us alive. And we're here to share these Wayñus with you and see what also wisdom, what medicine you can also absorb or receive from them. Wayñu is a pre-colonial musical and dance genre from the entire Andean mountain region. As my brother had mentioned, spanning from Peru all the way to northern Chile. As you'll hear in the songs that we're going to present, it's highly syncopated, and I'm going to have all of you clap the syncopation with me, hopefully. And it's usually played in a minor pentatonic, hexatonic, or diatonic scale with repeating poetic stanzas that are clever, playful, sometimes painful, sometimes funny, depending on the mood. And even though they've originated in the villages of the Andes, now they've become an international genre, and there are Wayñu bands that tour, Europe and here and all over the world because of families that have also immigrated. So I wanted to start. It was my brother had explained to me. I sat down and I was like, how do we explain Wayñu? Wayñu is so much a part of us. We don't know how to other it. And so my brother Richard said, well, we learned Wayñu through stories and through songs. And so we compiled a few recordings of my grandfather, Nicolas Armacanqui, and my grandmother, Maria Clemencia Armacanqui, telling some anecdotes, just so that you can get a flavor of how we received this tradition and also how it was passed on to us.
Para mí, estaba la profesora ya, la regla de entonces, de eso de enseñar el caballo, según caballos, son todos la rienda a lo que iba a caballero, se subió a los caballos y listo. Caballos se fue derecho, desde bajó, se dirigió a Colombia, ella agarró un caballo, llegó al pueblecito, no conocía a ninguno, ¿no? El caballo volvió de ver, entonces se lo llevó a la casa de la profesora. El caballo no me lanzó.
So this is part of a story, but I wanted to ask if my brother could clarify, like, how are the anecdotes told? Like, they're funny, and sometimes how are they connected to Wayñus?
Well, yeah, I think that if you look at all of Peruvian culture is like almost all regions of Peru is very much about getting around together. People will talk, for hours and hours just with your friends and your family, and it's just that can go way into the night of just talking together a lot. So, but yeah, like so much of we only visit the Andes, a few times. Once I was older, and once we were older, and so all our knowledge of the Andes was from what we grew up with, from hearing all the stories that people would tell. So it's like a lot of by the time you go there, a lot of it's very familiar, and then you see a lot of things that people were talking about. But just as people get together and talk, music is something that's not just an extra activity or like a fun thing. It's just something always, like your guitars come out, and then we always start as we're sitting there together and talking, we'd always bring the guitars out. And that was my favorite part about music and the guitar, which was that it always brought people together. So you just you right away gravitate towards that.
This
is my uncle Jose, and he let's see which. I think it's this one right here is one of the ones he always play.
This is a moment when how old were you here?
Dice, que le dijo, no, ya no regresa, usted que dice que ya lo vendí ya. ¿Cómo lo vas a vender? Está trabajadito, parece me hace trabajar día y noche. Ah, tú has trabajado porque has querido, pero ya lo vendí porque es mío.
So that's my grandmother, the matriarch. Both of them were telling stories. So my grandfather in the previous video was telling a story about a horse and how he knew his way through the village perfectly on his own, this horse. And then this excerpt is from an anecdote about how one of the family members sold their chakra. Chakra is their garden that where they grow their vegetables to eat as well. So as you can see, we're just hanging at home and listening to these anecdotes, being told about an agricultural lifestyle that maybe we are not part of. We weren't able to grow up in that environment, but we're able to imagine that, and carry that through the songs as well. This is all of us playing together at a friend's house. So that last song that we were playing was about purple potato. As you may know, Peru has many varieties of potato, thousands. And this next song that we want to share with all of you is about a pea, a green pea. You have the translation up on the screen. Hopefully you can all see that, read that. this song, with the wisdom that it's passed on to me, as you can see, pretty green pea, how tender and sweet you are when you are green. When you think about a pea when it's still inside of its shell, it's a little bit crisp, no, and fresh. And then when it ripens and grows, it'll fall from the plant, and then a dove will come and pick it up. And then the next phase of the pea's life, when you are more ripe, oh little pea, we can add salt and chili to you, and you'll be tasty. And then the next phase of your life, when you're all dried up, then we can grind you and turn you into dough, right? So for me, that means that every phase of life has its zest, has its taste, has its purpose. And I'm so grateful that this song has been able to guide me during these years. So I wonder what phase of the green pea life you feel you're in today. We also wanted to share with you another song that, as you can see, alludes to Mother Nature, whether it's the vegetables of flora and fauna that are found in our region. And a very common animal that's referenced in a lot of the songs is the paloma, the dove, or the pulpi in Quechua. I also wanted to share these songs are sometimes in Spanish, sometimes in Quechua fully, sometimes in a mix of Spanish and Quechua. And that goes to show the mix of what our country is made of. So this is called Una paloma sobre una rama, a dove on top of a branch.
So this was a romantic song, mostly of heartbreak. And it's the dove that comes, so the kurpi comes and sits on the branch. And the branch responds, speaks to the dove by trembling. And what does that tremble mean? That means sing, dear bird, don't cry. That's love, right? To comfort someone. And the branch also says, tú no sabes lo que es amar. You don't know what it is to love. Maybe a tree, does a tree maybe know better than a dove how to love? Who knows? But in the lyrics, that's what it expresses. And the last bit, which is very particular to Wayñu, there's always the fuga at the end, which, I don't know if you were able to tell, but that's often improvised. Improvised in the sense there's fugas that can be replaced from one song to the other. And this particular fuga says, if it's like that, then leave it like that. If that's the way it's meant to be, then that's the way it's meant to be. Which I really enjoy that one because it's like, it shows resilience. If heartbreak is the way it's supposed to be, then that's life. We wanted to show you, since we showed you the stories and we're singing songs from the heartland, our heartland, we wanted to show you images from Armacanqui, Peru. And I would love for Richard to talk about his experiences there. He's been there more times than I have.
So La Armaca is in the region of Waytara, in the kind of state of Huancavelica. It's considered so along the coastal region. It's the state that borders it to the coast is Ica. So Ica contains, has the city of Ica. Also part of the state of Ica is the region of Chicha. These are different towns that used to be haciendas, like in Carmen. Those are all part of the state of Ica, and Huancavelica is the Andes that connects it. So it's there's always been economic trade between those two regions because so much of the agriculture that is in the coast is in the Andean regions is sold in the coast. And our grandfather, he was what they call a ganadero, which is someone who would like buy and sell cattle. So it's kind of a self-made type of business enterprise that you just go into different chacras and you buy cattle, and then like they eat and graze, and then at a certain time of the year you come and you collect all the cattle and you get them together and you bring them down to the coast and sell them in Ica and also in Lima. And that's when you make your money for the whole year. So it's a very the lifestyle of the ganadero is very much emblematic of the whole culture of that region, where music is oftentimes associated with ganaderos too, because since they're always buying and selling, and they have to be businessmen who are usually men, but women also
are constantly engaging in commerce. Their tradition and now today too. But there's a lot of social interactions, and that's like the idea of going around with your guitar on your horseback is something that is kind of very emblematic for the culture. So the region of so for example, this that's famous Ayacuchan Wayñu, and we can take back to about what I've heard from stories told is that there was a musician that came to Latin America around the end of the 19th century. This would have been at the beginning of the 20th century. He was from Ayacucho, and he came with his style of playing, and he I can't remember his name. I have to look at. I know I have it written down somewhere, and he was also the director of a band of Latin America. I think he founded and started the brass band of Latin America, which is these are brass bands that play official events, but they also play wino on brass, you have the tuba and the trombone and the saxophones, and they play wino on that. And actually our great grandfather, Teófilo, he was also the director of the Banda Provincial de Latin America. So this region, it takes about 6 hours going up to get to through very winding roads, and it's at the top of the mountain. And there's this picture by taken from a very beautiful outlook. It's just a little walk outside of the town. I haven't been there in recent times, so when I was there, it was just there was no cell phone tower at all. So there was only a big loudspeaker. So if you get a call in the town, then they call your name on the loudspeaker and you go get the call. But it's it's known to be very culturally rich. It's kind of, they call it la perla de Huaytará. They call it la perla from that region because there's towns that neighboring. For example, there's a town that you could see from that's on another mountain. That's called Ocoamba, and that one is kind of turned into really kind of a miners sleeping town, where the miners live. So it's not, they have a really nice little fountain in the square, and you go there and get internet. Well, back when I was there in 2008, and now everyone's there. But the culture there is not what it is in Latin America, because it's been transformed a great deal by the mining operations there. And there's strong attempts, because there's a lot of minerals underneath this mountain right here. And there's a lot of attempts to persuade people to get mining involved there. And, the effects of that have been seen in a lot of neighboring villages.
Gracias, Richie. To give more of an idea of what the life and music and dance is there's a few videos I'll share with you. This is a video made by our Uncle Noor, who founded this group.
This Wayñu that my uncle and his friend Guzman are playing, is a beautiful song. It says that in the village of Laramarca, I fell in love with you, but it's the moon's fault because I wasn't able to see you very clearly. So there's a lot of some comedic also elements to Wayñitos. But I wanted to share a few others which are more recent as well. This is in the Spunas, the highest parts of Los Andes, if you go even higher than Armacanqui.
Subo la cuesta, miro la pampa, subo la cuesta, miro la pampa. Mi palomita se fue volando, mi palomita se fue volando. Era chiquita pero bonita.
It's really another world when you go to the highest part of Las Punas. It's the closest you can be to outer space. It's a very sacred space for us. And the grass there is called ichu. It's a very thick and healthy grass that the bulls can eat, and they get nutrients that they cannot get in the lower highlands. And then this is what a festival or carnaval can look like. You can see the amount of, when people say community, I didn't know what it really felt like until I was able to celebrate festivals in Laramarca. We hold each other's hands and we stomp our feet and we dance all around the village together. And we never let go of each other's hands. Other instruments that are used, such as Wairapukru, and that's made out of the horn of Oaxaca.
It's like, you take horns and like you join them together with the stomach part, the intestine, and this curls around into a big horn that during this festival, this Fiestas Patrias, they have where they do this thing called the running of la corrida de toros, the running of the bulls, where they don't run down the street. There's like they used to do it on the plaza where they just take a young bull and just let it loose, and everyone just tries to like get out of the way of it, and like especially guys who are really drunk and brave, they'll just run in front of it and get thrown like 100 feet in the air. And they in the Toril, they have competitions on the Oaxaca where whoever can play better gets prize. And during this period, they also have lots of competitions where the biggest cheese, best cow, the typical rural competitions that you have in Wisconsin too, and in the other rural region of the world.
Richard mentioned the corrida de toros, and well, I hope you don't think of the Spanish bullfighting, because that's not what we do.
Yeah, only
I'm
the
sure-
humans get hurt.
We don't ever harm any of the bulls. That's very, very important for us in Laramarca. When I was there and I saw we just sort of like, dance with the bulls. with that red cape, but they never get harmed. Once even a bull got stuck in between the wall and something, and the whole village just got up and started screaming because they didn't want the bull to get hurt, and all worked together to help the bull out of the stuck place. But so yes, when we say the bull corrida de toros, we don't mean bullfighting, FYI. So thank you for mentioning, and this is a good, or I would say, conscious segue into what's going on right now in Peru. I don't know if you have been following, but there's some really great news sources to find out more. Specifically, Telesur is a great news source, and others. If you want to find out more, we can refer. But this is all connected to what my brother had mentioned, which is land resources, right? So La Marca is sitting on veins of gold, veins of copper, which for us is meant to be there and sacred for us. That mountain itself is a living, conscious spirit or being. And so it's as if someone would be, you know, tearing up your insides. That's like tearing up the insides of a mountain. And but it's been decades and decades of basically a war between our village and many villages across the Andes against mining companies, basically raging Armageddon, or like an apocalypse for our culture. All of this that we're sharing with you today would come to an end. So we just want to raise more awareness and all the things that we can do to stop these ruthless mining companies from many different countries, including, US, Canada. The one that's near La Marca is based in Canada. It's called Buenaventura Mining Company, and Sierra Sun Group Mining Company. And they sell themselves as, they even call themselves sustainable mining, which is really quite disgusting. But we wanted to dedicate a song, which was actually written during another difficult period in Peru, when Sendero Luminoso and the government were basically sacrificing indigenous lives in the name of politics, or, again, land resource stealing. But or Shining Path in English, Sendero Luminoso. But this song is written by Carlos Falconi, and I have the lyrics here so you can understand as we sing. It's ironically called Viva la Patria, which means long live our country, but it's actually ironic. And I'm sure you feel that here as well, in the illusion of this nation state, right? Because it says, is this a song that I'm singing? Are these tears that I'm crying? When I see the eyes of the children or of the women, anger and frustration starts to fill me because they see because there was so much massacre of our people and so many orphans. They take, whether it's a minor, whether it's now, the current right-wing government in Peru, they take my cow, they take my radio, they say, fuck yourself or fuck your mother. And then they say, long live our country, right? So that's the hypocrisy. If you wanted to share more about how you found this song.
Oh, yeah, my favorite albums when I was 11 or 12 were a lot of the records that my uncle would give me. So I'd be going around in my in my Walkman listening to those all day. So there's a beautiful live album by with Carlos Falconi and Manuel Chaparral. It's called Testimonio a Escuchando, and it's a very beautiful. If it's on Spotify, it's called Testimonio a Escuchando. But yeah, the situation in Peru right now, there's a lot of parallels to the United States and how things are so polarized over there socially. You have old social hierarchies, which a lot of people think have eroded, over the last, over the century, over the decades. But there's moments where you see that everything improves, works exactly the same as it's always worked. And the United States is the same way. When there's moments where you get this glimpse of, wow, everything is exactly the same as it's always been.
Since
Not in a hopeless way.
colonizers.
Not in a hopeless way, but in a sense to acknowledge what's happening. So just like when police, killed George Floyd or killed someone here, like that's not an isolated event. That's part of a whole social structure that is at work in everyone's lives day to day, at every instant. And Peru has the exact same thing. And a lot of people have died in protests. Just getting shot by the police. With impunity. So we're thinking about that.
Before we play the song, just to give a little more context, I'm going to play a video explaining, very short.
La sangre derramada jamás será olvidada. Queridos compatriotas peruanos, les estamos enviando nuestra solidaridad y apoyo desde Wisconsin, de la ciudad de Madison. Estamos aquí, los peruanos que residimos aquí, y nos duele mucho lo que está pasando en nuestro querido país. Les enviamos nuestra fuerza y nuestro gran apoyo a todos y todas. Estamos aquí fuertes, unidos, venceremos. La sangre derramada jamás será olvidada.
you very much, everyone, for coming today and giving us this opportunity to share a little bit about, our little corner of Madison. We, we want to thank, first and foremost, our mom, dad, who is right here, my father, David Hildner, and my mother, Armacanqui, my aunt, Elia, who, they, have always, very strongly emphasized, preserving our culture, that's been a very invaluable lesson that we also are doing with our own children. And, we just hope, everyone would do the same and really realize that, just because we live here in the United States, that doesn't mean that it's got to be a certain culture. Here in the United States is a land, a land that was stolen. So, anything goes, I feel, because no one really, other than the Native people who had land robbed from them, no one really has rights to land. So I think everyone has rights to this land. That's something that's special about it. I was just in Peru in December, and Peru is also going through like a very strong immigration process, and there's strong xenophobia, and it's when you hear what people say, just random people say, based on everything they're being fed in the media and based on the worst stereotypes that they get, it's just as disgusting as the xenophobia that you hear here in the United States. So, thank you, Lances, very much for having this series. Creating this space for so many different people to be able to learn from each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting us. We appreciate it. And this, we're all connected. This is very much connected. Why are the miners there? They're excavating that gold and lithium and all those to sustain this unsustainable lifestyle that's here. So it's the choices that we're making here that are affecting people there. Yeah, so we are all connected, but we're also connected through song, through dance, and through moments like these. So thank you very much. If you have any more questions, please come and ask any of us. We'd be happy to share with you.